Hello, this is Katie, and this is card number 1 for the Christmas card series, of which I will probably sneak in a couple Hanukkah cards as well. I wanted to first thank all the new subscribers, or any subscribers, because I haven't before, but I just love seeing those emails coming in, knowing you guys are watching, so that's good. So thank you for subscribing. And this card is based off of a card that Christina Werner made in her series in 2011. So it was just very cute. And I'm changing a few things on it just because I can. So I will start with the card base here is, I did get a few things ready beforehand, by the way, just because it takes a little bit longer. So I have the card base and I cut out a circle that's going to go on it from the Stampin' Up! Framelits Circles collection. That's 130911 if you want to find that. It's one of their many framelits that I have handy just because it's really, really useful. And the biggest one is a scalloped one. And I believe I used the fourth one in for this circle that I just did. So just a really nice die set. And I have other framelits by Stampin' Up! As well. And I'll be using, let's see, there will be a heart on it, and so I used my Martha Stewart punch, which is over here somewhere. Maybe I put it away. Oh, here it is. It looks like this. It cuts out several hearts at once, so I just used one of those, and you can see I cut it out from here. And so that's that Martha Stewart punch there. And all of this will be listed in the products list below, which is, I put that together while the video is uploading because it takes so long, so it's really all I have to do. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually round these corners here. So I'll use my EK Success, I think it's called a corner adorner. I could be wrong. But they have other ones that do designs and stuff like that, which is probably why they called it that. But this one I'm just going to round the... Just make them rounded with no design. Okay. Okay, so that'll be a rounded bottom card, and it opens, it's like the 5.5 by 4.25, but opens like a book, or you could have it open the top. So it's going to go the top way. And the first thing I'm going to do is actually emboss this stamp from... Sorry, I'm putting stuff in my own way here. From the Mama Elephant set Basic Borders, I took the dotted one, and I'm going to stamp it along the bottom, but I'm going to emboss it with clear. So I want to first, and I think I've embossed before in videos, but you're going to use either a powder bag, or if you have that powder tool that looks more like a paintbrush, and just put powder. I just kind of rub it along. It seems to work just fine. Just to get the static off so that the powder only goes where you want it to. And I see a lot of people when they emboss, they do that, and they'll do it on like black paper or dark paper. You can see the powder, and they leave it on there, which really isn't necessary. So I like to wipe it off because it's done its job. It's still going to be not staticky. And I'm going to use my bone folder to just make sure that this is as flat as it can be, so when I'm stamping it doesn't move. And then I want to use the Versamark watermark stamp pad, which is just the clear ink. And then I will ink up the dotted. Okay. And then we'll line this up with the bottom. You can also hold down the card with other fingers if that works for you. I'm going to try and get this on there straight. Make sure I get all the dots stamped. And then take it off there. Okay, so then when I put on the powder, you also want to make sure you close this up. If it's nearby, you might get powder on the pad too, and you don't want to do that. I'm just going to put a piece of printer paper under when I put the powder on. I'm going to use the clear. I have a little tub of clear. I have a couple of them actually. I bought a lot for one of my classes once, and so I had a lot of extra. Just going to sprinkle that on. And if you only want to sprinkle a little bit, then it kind of cascades down it'll usually catch on all of it. But you just want to make sure you're all covered. Oops, hopefully I didn't smudge that too bad. There we go. And the powder only went where I wanted it to. I really didn't have to shake it off or use a paintbrush to brush away any of it because that powder bag really does work. So put it back in there, put that away. Then we want to use our heat tool and melt that so it's ready to go. So I'm going to heat it up for a second off to the side and then I'll show you how it melts. So just to get it warmed up, you can feel it with your hand. It does get pretty hot though, so be careful. And then I'll bring this a little closer so you can see how the clear melts really cool because it'll just turn into the darker color of the cardstock behind it. Hopefully you can hear me over the loud sound. And another tip, when you melt this, it can tend to curl the edges up. This one actually did okay. It kind of went back down. But if the edges curl, you can always heat the back and kind of curl it backwards to just kind of undo the reaction, basically. So if your paper curls, you can always heat the back to kind of uncurl it. Got some powder on the back there. And it's usually dry pretty quick. I would just give it a minute or so before you start touching it, if necessary. But we'll set this aside, just this piece for now. And then I'm going to make a little border to go right above the dotted area here. And I'll show you this up close. It looks really cool. And it's really cool to touch too. So I love embossing powder. We're going to do this edge here. And if you have one of these are the EK Success punches. They're really good quality. If you have one of these, this over here, I didn't know for the longest time. I'm pretty sure my friend showed me because she's brilliant and I am not. They're kind of a guide for your paper, what you've already punched. So you just put some under the actual punch, which is only that long. You could even look at it this way. This is actually how I do it. But so if you punch some already, you're supposed to use this here as a guide to line it up and then punch again so that it looks the same going through. But you can also flip it over and look through. Hope maybe that'll focus for you. My phone is really not wanting to focus lately on anything. Anyway, you can line it up inside and punch too. So I like to do that because I can see where it actually is instead of depending on the just that sticker outline. And it usually ends up a lot better. But I actually did not know what that was for a long time. So I only need it about that long anyway for the length of the card. I'll set the punch aside and maybe toss some of these scraps. Okay. And then with the paper trimmer, I know I only need it 5.5 long because that's the length of the card anyway. So I'll just go a little bit extra all the way till what I cut maybe. And then I know I'll want about, let's see, not too much above the thing there, but I want to be able to put some adhesive on it, so I want to make it probably about as wide as my adhesive. So this will be our little part that we're going to put on there. I'll set aside the trimmer and the paper. So I'll use my tape runner. Sorry, I might have wiggled it there. I'll use my tape runner and actually maybe run it along here instead of on here because this is a straight line anyway, and that's where I'm going to be sticking it. And then really quickly, actually, with my scissors, if you ever have anything that looks a little, I'm trying to see, like anything like this on there, you can always just trim it off with really sharp scissors. And just any of the little pieces that didn't quite go through on the punch. It's probably because I showed you both ways. I should have just done it my way the first time. But you can make it look a little bit nicer with some detail scissors. Okay. So I have the adhesive down. I'll just start on the edge. I want to make sure we start there. And just bring that across. And then flip it over and just trim off the rest. So there's no adhesive above it, which is good. And we're good there. Okay. So that'll be the first part. I'll set that aside. Then for the second part, we're going to put some snowmen on this here. I'll be stamping the little snowman first and then masking this one to make it look like the bigger snowman's behind it. So we're going to use masking again. And let's see here. Oh, the set is the Making Frosty Friends by Lawn Fawn. I'm using this, and then we're actually going to be using the scarf, the earmuffs, and the hat, and a couple of the snowflakes are from a different set. The snowflakes we'll be adding are from the Winter in the Park by Lawn Fawn, so I'm going to use a couple of those in the background. Okay, so I'm going to color in parts of them, so I'm going to use the Memento Tuxedo Black so that I can color it in with Copics without any problem. And I really only need part of the snowman. It's just going to be that there. And I'll just keep this around so I can wipe up the parts that I stamp on my craft sheet. Okay, so for the masking, we're going to use another Post-it and do just the part we need. And you want to maybe just stamp the top of it near where the sticky part is, and then we'll cut this out so we can mask over that. And we really only need the left side, actually, where the bigger snowman is going to be stamped. So I'll focus on this side over here. Okay. So then we'll take our mask and put it, I need to do this sideways, put it right over where our snowman is. And then ink up the bigger snowman. Probably only need about that much. And with these ones that have a lot of surface space like here, you just want to be careful. You do ink it up, but I can press it down and still not get that on the paper, as long as you don't push it so hard that that part gets on there. Just make sure your paper's in place, and then we will stamp our, we're going to make him just a little bit taller. He's going to be the boy. So he'll go right there. And we didn't get any of the ink that was in the middle there, so he'll get cleaned up later. Okay. So then we'll pull up our little snowman mask so we have them next to each other. And I'll do the pieces first. So we're going to do the scarf, the earmuffs, and the hat. And I'll set this aside because it's going to be on a separate piece of paper. I'm going to color them in and then cut them out so they're actually separate pieces that go along with them. And this is still the Memento because I want to color these in, so I don't want it to bleed. Okay, so for the earmuffs, we'll be making these green. I'm going to make sure that's good and dry. And we'll be adding a little bit of stickles. I think it's stickles that I have, which is that glitter glue over these to make them sparkly as well, instead of a Wink of Stella, for example. And I think we'll just make this whole band green. And then the scarf will be red. And the stickles will probably take enough of the, I guess it will bring your eye to the stickle part of it, so I don't really need to do any effect or blending in the coloring because it's going to get covered with the stickles anyway. The glitter glue, which is somewhere in the tower of the thing that is holding my camera up. It's in my drawers, so I'll look in there. These little fringe pieces are going to get cut off anyway because I'm not stamping it anywhere else, and it'll look fine without those, so we'll just end up taking those off. And the band on the hat, let me close my ink over here. The band on the hat will be red, but the rest of the hat is going to be black. And then when we put the stickles on this part, we'll just put it on the band. So I'm going to use my colors, by the way. I have YG 23. I don't know why I try to get this to focus. That worked okay. YG 23, which is New Leaf for the green, and then my favorite Cadmium red, which is R27. I'll list these down below as well. For their noses, I'm going to do YR16, which is Apricot. And then this is just black, the 100 black for the hat. And we won't really get to see these lines once we color in the hat because it's a pretty dark black. So the line that showed you kind of the top of the hat is going to go away, but that's okay. You can almost see it through there, just a little bit. Okay. Okay. If I can figure out the simple editing on YouTube, I will cut this part out. No pun intended, I guess. Cutting out part. Cut this portion out if it takes me too long, which it probably will. So, you might not even hear this part. But fussy cutting usually takes a while. And you usually want to be pretty careful when you're cutting on corners. It can bend the cardstock and just kind of ruin the look of it as well. Okay, that one, and then the hat. Okay, and then these are going to be a little bit harder because they have a really skinny part in the middle there. I think I was actually going to maybe stamp those, but this will be fine. I mean, stamp them on the circle instead of cutting them out. might be difficult. I think I'll cut the band while I still have something to hold on to. Much better. Okay. All right, so those are cut out, and then for the edges, sometimes you can just use like a black marker if some of the white looks exposed, because the cardstock is pretty thick. So if you just want to make that look a little better on the edges. And that should be fine. And then this one, I'll just go down here a little bit and in the corner. And on the sides there. I don't want to bleed into that too much. Okay. So we'll get our cut up pieces out of the way. Okay. Then I'll color in their noses for the orange part, for their carrots. And then we'll want to glue down, and I want to grab my tweezers. I want to glue down the hats, and I think I'll actually raise them up because they're going to be raised up on the foam on there first. But before that, I'm going to stamp the greeting. So for the greeting portion, I'll use the VersaFine Onyx since I'm not needing to color it in. And I want to position it right so that they fit on there with the greeting. And it should be okay. And I think I'll just make sure it's at the edge. And this is the greeting from the winter in the park as well. I just put the two together in a line, and then they should be fine right there. So we're good on that. So I'll raise them up on some foam first before I put everything else on there. I want to make sure it's raised up enough that it's supported on the edges too. And then one more piece. Okay. So we'll take them. Put them right there, and then stick down our pieces. So it doesn't need a whole lot of glue. Just make sure you have enough on there, just very light, it'll stick down for sure. And then stick on his hat. We don't want so much glue that it's going to smush out. And it looks like I have a little spot. I'm not really sure. I might have just gotten something on there. There it is. Okay. Okay. Then we'll do the scarf is going to go on him as well. So we'll put the scarf on right there. Okay, and then the earmuffs will go on the girl. Just do some light glue. I don't want any of that squeezing out. And we want to put it on the ears. It's going to be a little raised up. They might be a little too close to each other. Probably should have measured that first. But that's okay. Okay, and then the snowflakes are going to go in the background, and I probably should have stamped this first, but it's pigment ink, and I have enough foam back there, so it's a pretty good base. I'll do a test on some Post-it paper. I don't want it to be too inky. I'll put one right here, then do a little one, test that first. Maybe just the 2 snowflakes, that looks fine to me. Wasn't quite sure how I wanted those, but that looks fine. Okay, and then just to give some attention to this general area, I will actually be raising that up on a very small piece of foam. So hopefully a square of it will be enough. And you won't be able to see it from the back, I hope. So I'm going to put that right in the middle of the 2 words of the sentiment. Okay. So then for the rest of it, I'm going to add the stickles. And hopefully this doesn't shake too much if I get these drawers out. So I have the clear stickles here. They should squeeze out just fine. I'm going to put some around the heart. Make sure it's working okay. Maybe I'll zoom in a little bit here, sorry. So you can kind of see how I'm doing it. And it should just follow the heart shape. And you can kind of drag it to the edges if it doesn't. And it won't fall off the edges, which is nice. And you want to give this a long time to dry as well. So we'll put some there. We'll give the ear muffs a little bit. Just kind of drag it with the point. And then we'll do the red band on the hat. Since this doesn't really have an edge, you want to be careful where you're doing that as well. And then anything, if it gets on the black, for example, just kind of drag your tweezers or your edge of your scissors along to pick up any excess. And then we'll do the scarf as well. Maybe it doesn't need so much, but we can do a thin enough layer to get the look. Okay. Alright, so that is it. I'm going to let this sit out and dry, but we did our embossing, and we have our sentiment there, and then our glitter everywhere with our snow people. So I'll let that dry. And that is card number 1. And I'll see you for card number 2. Thanks for watching. Bye.